The huge Thanksgiving travel rush involving tens of millions of Americans. AAA predicts more than 53.4 million people will be on the move for the holiday, up 13% from 2020. Air travel is up more than 80% from this time last year. It has almost completely recovered from the pandemic lows. And talking of the pandemic, the TSA says that it does not expect to see any problems from the vaccine mandate for federal workers. The agency says about 93% of its staff have complied with the requirement. We are joined now by the travel expert, Brian Kelly, the CEO and founder of The Points Guy, who has some tips on how to navigate the holiday rush. Good morning, Brian. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Now, there will be millions of Americans expected to travel, and you have some tips for them.
Absolutely. Well, I think the first thing is don't panic. I think all the headlines leading into this week were meltdowns, staff shortages. Certainly there will be some hiccups, but the weather seems to be holding up. And by and large, travel should be pretty smooth this week. But prepare for lines. Get to the airport early. And also, get TSA pre-check. It's $85 for 5 years. And I struggle to find a better way to spend $17 a year than to save hours in line each and every time you go to the airport.
It helps.
I also love Clear.
Clear also, if you want to splurge a little bit more. So if you have TSA pre-check like I do, Clear actually gets you to the front of that pre-check lane. So sometimes you feel the daggers of people like,
the combination of the two, right?
Yeah, the cool kids line. Why are you cutting that?
Hey, but do you have a system, though, about navigating lines? Because, listen, whenever I see people with baby carriages and strollers and kids in diaper bags, I go, I don't want to get in that line.
Well, Gayle, I don't like to profile people, but I don't disagree with that approach.
I know, but then you switch to the other line and it moves faster, and then you're back where you started.
I think by the time you're at the line, once again, I think this is a mental thing. Like whether you're going to save another 2 minutes, the point is get to the airport early
enough,
where it doesn't matter, that those extra 2 minutes. But the pre-check line in general, you don't have to take your shoes off, you don't have to take your laptop out. So I can't stress enough how that is just such a game changer.
Do you have tips traveling with children, though?
Absolutely. So if you're traveling with children, and actually anyone traveling, whether it's now or in 6 months, check your airline reservations. The airlines have made so many changes to the schedules, times, and a lot of times they change the plane type. So if you're a family of 4 sitting together and they change the plane, you might be scattered all over the flight. So check it today because it's a lot easier to fix it before you're at the airport, in that long line.
So you're getting there early, which means you might work up a little bit of a hunger before you're actually bored. But everything at the airport costs $10,000 per nugget. And the lines are crazy.
Eat before you go to the airport.
Okay.
Bring snacks, absolutely.
What can you get through security?
So, the TSA, you can actually bring a fully baked turkey through the TSA pre-check.
Called the Nate rule.
Can you bring macaroni and cheese? Somebody sent me some macaroni and cheese that I'm taking with me on the plane.
If it's not too watery, in general, if you can, spray it, spill it, or spread it, you need to check it. So if it's like a real...
Say it again, spray it?
Spray it, spread it, spill it. You should check it. But if it's like a hard casserole or a turkey or a ham, you can totally bring those through. Even beverages, if they're fully frozen, you can bring it through a TSA.
Gayle, someone's going to film you with that macaroni in the security line.
It came. It's in the freezer now, but I'm taking it. Thank you, Benny Medina. It's the best macaroni and cheese I've ever had. What about when you're tracking your planes to figure out, because you call to see is my plane on time, the weather's sunny here, you're thinking I'm all good here.
So the 101 thing to do is just, set your flight status with your airline, track your flight, get push alerts. But this is what the experts do. We check where your plane is coming from, right? Because it can be nice and sunny here in New York, but if it's snowing in Chicago, so you want to check where your flight's coming from. You also,
Who does that, though, Brian?
Nerds like me. And nerds like me, if you're a plane nerd, there's actually an app called Flight Radar 24 where you can point your phone in the sky and it'll tell you what that flight is, where it's going.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah. But FlightAware is a great flight tracking tool. It'll help you track where your plane's coming from. And honestly, that little bit of information will give you the heads up. Because if you know your flight's delayed where it's coming from, chances are it's going to be delayed for you. And that's when you can change your flight, get on an earlier one, and get home to the family without being
Now,
late.
Brian, recently I sat down with the Hall of Fame Celtic, Bill Russell. The reason I bring that up is because I met him in Boston. I flew out there. He drove with his wife from the state of Washington all the way to Boston.
Wow.
Which shows me that during the holiday season, people will find a reason to hit the road and not get on a plane.
Wow.
So what do you recommend for those that are going to hop in a car instead of going to the airport?
Well, if you're renting cars, book as far in advance as possible. Book directly with the car rental agency because they are selling out. And a lot of people are showing up and there's just no cars. People are, now working from home, not returning them. Also, leave early and also don't think driving is that cheap. We've all seen gas prices through the roof. So.
What about unruly passengers? I haven't been on a flight, luckily, knock on wood, where you see somebody going off on the flight attendant. What should we do in that situation? I think it would be very hard to just sit and witness that.
And and of course tape it so it goes viral. But no, we need to support our front of the line travel personnel. They are under so much stress. Just getting us, travel has whipped back so quickly. They're not staffed appropriately. So we have to support, flight crew.
Yes.
Don't intervene necessarily, but if things are getting out of control, absolutely, it's, be an upstander. When you see someone behaving terribly, we have to support, because flight attendants, it's not their job to be security guards.
You're talking about planes, but when you brought up unruly passengers, I thought you meant family members in your rental car. What do you do then?
You're a big guy. If I sat next to you, I'd be like, oh, yeah, here's the air marshal right here. We're good to go.
Go get him, Brian.
Thank you so much for joining us.